Hello and welcome to Council Catch-Up here on WSTO TV. WSTO TV is on channel 981 on TDS and Spectrum, on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV apps, and for your Android and iOS phone, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. We're here to talk about the council meeting from January 23rd, 2024, and I'm here with Mayor Swadley. Welcome.
Hello.
So, after you called the meeting to order, was there any public comment period or communications?
Yeah, for public comment, we had Andrea Hansen and Sarah Tashin came to the City Council to let them know about the Spread Goodness Day, which will happen March 8th this year. And there'll be events around the community to really just do good deeds and be kind to each other that day. Last year, I participated with a proclamation and greeted students at Stoughton High School.
All right. And then under presentations, we had a presentation about industrial revenue bonds.
Yeah, so for the industrial revenue bonds, we have representation from Quarles and Brady on the financing for the city's end. And they came in and basically just kind of gave an update on the process and what roles and responsibilities and what risk would be involved on the city's end, which is really limited. Really, the only risk if we were to entertain an agreement with a prospective company such as FlowClear, that we could potentially have to use staff time to do an audit if the IRS had us do a random audit or something like that. But there is no financial risk as far as the actual bonds that would be used in order to build the new facility for FlowClear.
Okay. And then vested sick leave update by Finance Director Ellinger.
Dave just provided an update to the City Council and the community on where we are at as far as our account for sick day payout. We did have a couple employees that retired recently, and we're in really good health in that account.
All right. And then there was, of course, the consent agenda and nothing under old business. Under new business, there was Resolution 8, an extraterritorial jurisdiction land division for a property in the town of Dunkirk.
Yeah, there's a property out there that they would like to build a house, and since it falls in the 1.5 mile radius of our borders, it has to pass through us for approval. It also needs approval by the township and the county.
All right. Ordinance 1 of 2024 was to adopt modifications to sections 74-112 and 74-113 for the Code of Ordinances.
So you might recall at the last City Council meeting, we had a resolution to basically raise the utility rates, and we discovered that really that should be done by ordinance instead of resolution. A resolution is more of a statement and a motion explaining the rationale behind taking an action. An ordinance is more of like a local law, and it's something that went through the Utilities Committee, the Finance Committee, and then the City Council. Typically on ordinances, we have a first and a second reading. The first reading really introduces the ordinance, and then we normally take action at the following meeting on the second reading. City Council last night chose to waive the rules since they'd already seen the proposal in the resolution at the past meeting, and they went ahead and took action on it last night, and it was approved.
All right. Item number 9, Resolution 9 of 2024, approving a tax incremental financing request for Emmy Roth for solar panels.
So you may recall Emmy Roth put up their corporate headquarters in their distribution center last year and into early this year. And they had some cost overruns because of supply chain issues like many of the developers had done. And they initially had intended to put solar panels on the roof and do the cost overruns that kind of was put on the back burner. So they made a request to the city to provide tax incremental financing to assist them to pay and go ahead and install those panels, which we were able to do at a tune of $1.8 million. And then they basically came back last night to give us an update on where they landed as far as the cost to do the panels. They were able to gain some efficiencies through some different types of inverters that they investigated, more efficient solar panels, as well as reducing costs on a fall zone for basically for insurance reasons. So they were able to trim the initial estimate down to about $2 million. And Roth is going to basically pay the difference so they can get a full array of the solar panels installed at some point this year.
All right. Resolution 10 of 2024, reduction of the Glacier Moraine LLC letter of credit.
So the Glacier Moraine LLC is known as the Grosso Properties, and they're also out on Glacier Moraine Drive across the street from Emmy Roth, next to the former NAFA building, which is now Marquis Metals. And the way we structured the agreement with them is we wanted to have a guarantee in place on the value of the buildings that they're putting up over the years. And as they put up the buildings, we had a secured letter of credit, which gave them an incentive to continue to put up the buildings at the rate that they said they would, so we could hold them to it. And then when they reached their benchmarks, we're able to release some of the financing in those letters of credit back to them so they can reinvest it in other projects. So they're on buildings number 5 and 6 are almost completed, and they'll have 2 more yet to build.
And the last item on the agenda was a tax incremental financing and development agreement with STI Holdings.
So STI Holdings, of course, purchased the 182 acres, formerly known as the Linnerud Farm, out on the corner of Highway 51 and Highway B. And they put in a request for tax incremental financing to pay for the infrastructure to serve the 182 acres. So that typically involves the stormwater plan. It also involves the roads, sidewalks, curbs and gutters, water, wastewater, those types of expenses in order to serve not only their headquarters, but the development as a whole. So we've been having conversations with them for several months now on getting to a point where we can approve the TIF request and ultimately make that part of a developer's agreement. So we had 2 presentations last night. We had one from the architect from Strang that designed their building, explaining the energy efficiencies in the design phase of that building and the value of that. It's an interesting presentation. You can see that if you watched the whole meeting on WSTO and all the other sites that Derek mentioned, as well as an update from MSA. And MSA has been their engineering firm that's also helped them with their financial consulting. After the presentations, there was some questions and answers and deliberations. City Council went into the closed session meeting until about 11:30 last night. So that's the second long meeting we've had to try to work through the details of the developers agreement. And we're hoping that we can come to an agreement here in the coming weeks.
All right, that's all we had. So we'll see you all next time for Council Catch-Up in a couple of weeks after the first meeting in February. See you next time.